What's going on, y'all? It's Chuck. I'm going to take you through a couple beats in the BAK Jay Type Beats. All right, so looking at the melody for Ragnarok, first element is this low brass. Playing the Phrygian notes across the point. We are in D sharp Phrygian right now. So that is a crazy synth sound, a lot of processing on that. I'll take you through a little bit of the processing there. We got our good friend Portal. Everyone uses it, for a reason. It's fun. Can remove some harsh frequencies and some high end, then Pan Man there. So kind of got that synth sound going crazy. Usually with BAK Jay beats, they'll stick to kind of the core orchestral elements, brass and strings, maybe a little bit of keys. But every once in a while you hear a cool lead sound. And so that's kind of what I did here to kind of complement the other sounds. We got this super simple bell. That's your classic tubular bell. That's the main section of the loop. Moving to the second section, we introduce our staccato strings. And that is a crazy string. So let's take a look at what's going on there. So there's a tiny bit of pitch modulation going on with the one shot. And these one shots are from producer DB, who does great work. So shout out to him. And lastly, we have our legato counter melody. Let's just hear this in context, or hear it in isolation. So this counter starts on the fifth, and if you don't know how to make a counter melody, you start on the fifth and go from there. That's usually what I do. So let's go back to the main arrangement and kind of see some of the drum programming and arrangement tricks, as well as taking a look at the processing.
Chuck, what are you doing?
Probably thinking to yourself at home, holy shit, Chuck, how did that drop hit so hard? And the answer is, got two words for you: key change. So our first 8 bars is in C, and then the rest of the beat, except for the bridge, is in D. So we go up a whole step from the 8th to the 9th bar. Also with a little bit of filter on the main bus, or the beat bus, a tape stop. Automated that tape stop through Looperator again. It's a pretty cool trick to use, and then a couple little effects, just to kind of build the vibe of the intro. So let's now kind of look towards the hook. Let's hear the drums in isolation. Get rid of our do that. There's our hook. Got 2 perk sounds. 808 is pretty bouncy, a lot of space there. And then our clap is straight down the fairway with the exception of the 4th and 8th bar where we double it up. So that adds an additional bounce element. And then we have our open hat hitting on the 5th step, I believe, each bar. That's it. And then, 2 perks down here. So pretty minimal. Let's take a look at the verse 808 section. First section. So we bring in an active 808 and a pretty active counter snare, and so hearing that in context, it makes a little more sense. Going from here. So that's what we got going on there. And then here at bar 24, a little bit of a stop halfway through the verse, and then another stop there. So those are, in addition to the transitions like the tape stops and the fills, and drum fills, and filters and things like that. Don't be afraid to cut your drum elements going into different sections. And then here's the bridge, and we do a key change on the bridge, And then the same key changes we did in the intro, but without the drums. And we're just doubled up there until the end. So that was Ragnarok. So this is Risk Taker, kind of starting with our loop. One thing you'll notice when I play it in the playlist is we have a key change. So this first 8 bars is the same as the main, but it's in B, and then up here we're in C sharp. So let's start here with our main hook. Low brass Phrygian notes. Don't need to play that. You know what that sounds like. Here is our second brass with the main motif. There it is, pretty simple. And then we got another glitchy bell here on the Phrygian notes. Yeah, that's crazy. And then in the second half of the hook, we had these staccato strings. Nothing too crazy. Again, we're incorporating the 7th and the flatted 2nd. So those are kind of the only 3 notes you need sometimes. And then here's the verse section, keep our low brass. And we introduce this crazy bell sound, which is a lot of fun. I'll show you. So a lot going on as far as processing goes with that guy, bell. Not necessarily processing, but we look at it from the one-shot perspective. We have the pitch modulation again, as well as echo delay. And then we have this dark vocal. This has a little bit of processing on it. This has Altar Boy, just changing the format a little bit. So this sort of functions as a counter melody, starting on the 5th, going to the 6th, 4th, 6th, as opposed to first flat, 2nd, 7th. And that's like I said before, if you're looking to start a counter melody, the best place to start is on the 5th. Here's our arrangement. Let's look at the drum programming in the hook. Let's break this down, shall we? This is a real simple 808 pattern, a good amount of space, some kind of mini rolls here and there, simple clap pattern, and then we introduce this counter snare. And then in the second half of our hook here, we introduce some rolls, some bigger rolls, as well as a super minimalist hi-hat pattern. So BAK Jay Beats, no hi-hats unless very minimal, very tasteful. So that's what we got going on there. Then an open hat hitting in tandem with a couple of these 808 bangs. So got that going. Got a little counter snare, not counter snare. And then 2 perks there. So pretty good stuff so far. Let's take a look at the verse drum programming. This might be, so we start our verse with a nice 808 drop, which is underrated. Sliding down an octave, not too bad. So that's the verse patterns, and the first thing you notice is how active this 808 is, which is a lot of fun. Got it with the hi-hats, or the open hats, excuse me, on the second half of the verse, and then another simple perk, bounce perk, and then we go back to our hook, and that's the beat there. So very simple as far as arrangement goes, but pretty effective, especially if you get a good bounce. All right, this is the last beat called Heat Check. Just a couple elements here in our loop, pretty simple stuff, but again, using the same kind of orchestral elements in a really minimalist but heavy hitting way. Brass hit, legato strings, classic Southside bell with a little bit of glitch, pizzicato, and then these guys are staccato strings. So let's hear this first hit. That is just a nasty sound. And then here is our legato orchestra, which, if you'll see here, again, spoiler alert, it's a counter. We've got a brass. So we got going on there. And then we introduce the bell. Here on bar 9. Yeah, classic bell. And then we look at our verse section here. Bring in this pizzicato, keeping the brass around. So a lot of processing on the pizzicato. Looperator, going crazy here. A lot of fun to mess around with Looperator. Definitely recommend it. Compression, distortion, parametric EQ, and a little bit of delay. So, just kind of, it's one of those days where I wanted to go crazy with processing. And then on the other hand, we have about as minimalist as it gets with that pizzicato there. So that's our loop, just arranged nicely and brought over. No key change here, but really kind of the opposite as far as intro goes. Just minimalist intro, tape stop, brings us to our first part of the hook. So let's hear the drums. Drop out the melody. This is where we kind of pull out a lot of the 808 programming, leave some space, straightforward clap, counter snare, and then a super simple perk. And then one of my favorite part of BAK Jay Beats are the tom fills. So here's our tom fill again. Yeah, that's awesome. So that's our hook drum programming. Going to the verse, you'll see similar themes as far as the 808 goes. A little more activity here. Clap, snare. Hi, Yankee. See you later. And then drop for the return to the hook. So there we have it. Super simple. As far as arrangement goes, intro, 8-bar hook, verse, 8-bar hook, 16-bar hook, and then double hook to end it, and all in a good 2 minutes. 130 BPM again. So there is heat check. Let's go to our last one, risk taker. Phrygian brass start. Staccato strings. And this is in C sharp, but it looks like I did this to include the key change in the loop. I included the first 8 bars in the intro. We'll see that when I go through the full arrangement, but just kind of focusing on the hook now. Here's our brass motif. And we incorporate these strings again. Good strings. And a bell. Moving on to the verse, keep the low brass, but we introduce a very cool element here. Again, you'll see the same tricks being used. Pitch modulation, arpeggiator, or not arpeggiator, excuse me, echo on the one shot. Here's the vocal. serving as the counter melody. You'll see some processing on this as well. Alter Boy, great plugin, changing the format, a little bit of drive, play with them dry wet knobs, so you have a little bit of dry signal. Here we go. Great stuff there. Unmute all these, and let's take a look at the arrangement. As kind of mentioned, we have our intro key change, so let's play that in context.
Chuck, what is you doing?
So there was the key change. Kind of supporting that is the filter as well as the tape stop. So a lot of fun to do those. But let's take a look at our hook, get our melody out of here so we can focus on the drum bounce. 808 pattern, simple. Looks very similar to the other ones. A little bit of a roll right there. I'll leave it open for the first part of the what's going on here, first part of the hook. And then bring in the hats, the open hat, full clap, and the counter snare, as well as a couple more perks. And let's just hear everything together in isolation. Drums in isolation. One thing I wanted to point out, I got this from my buddy Chew, stereo send for the 808 to get a knocking on smaller speakers. Definitely recommend doing that to get your 808s to pop out as much as possible. But simple 808 pattern in the hook, and as we mentioned, there'd be no hi-hats in BAK Jay Beats, but these are very minimalist and kind of do a good job supporting the drum bounce as opposed to dominating it the way hi-hats really can. Then we have an open hat, and that's going on just to accent a couple bounce notes. Snare is, or main clap is main clap. Counter snare, it's doing counter snare things. Clav perk, and then different perk there. Let's take a look at the verse. So we start our verse off with a nice 808 drop. Definitely recommend these, to drop into different sections. So that's the verse. Again, really active 808. Bring in this open hat on those. Really helps with the bounce. Another perk, and then we're back to our hook. Repeat. We have a little bridge here, which serves to kind of drop out the rest of the drums and bring back the energy later. But simple arrangement there. So that is the final beat. And, the takeaways from this is keep it really simple. Keep everything minimalist. Focus on spacing. Think what's rappable, what's what's too much. Don't be afraid to take elements out. Is a good takeaway I have. Usually I'll make a lot of perks and then just keep one or two that I really like. Be creative with your transitions, your arrangements. There are other beats that have different sections that I've done. But this one, kind of that first hook, meat and potatoes. But kind of the creativity with the intros, I think is a good element to add. And then variation between the loop or the hook and the verse, and then using things like looperator to make exciting transitions, whether it's tape stops or beat cuts or what have you. And then as far as mixing goes, as long as your levels are good, listen to reference tracks. And you should be able to get your levels right. Cut your lows on your melodic elements, not to interfere with the 808. Everyone knows that. And then the last thing, is the sound selection. Make sure you pick elements that fit together. Don't pick too low elements and have them clash and muddy together. Don't pick a bunch of high elements and just have it buzzing. Let everything shine. And that also goes to how you arrange the loop as well. Pick elements and pan them appropriately too. Fill but don't flood as far as the frequency spectrum goes. So I got an FLP that I use for this. You just shoot me an email and I'll send it over to you. It has loop radar on the beat bus, melody and drum bus is set up. It's really simple, and then sends for drum reverb, melody reverb, and that 808 send I was talking about. So it's a real simple template. Happy to shoot it over, and then I'll have a loop kit coming up too. So BAK Jay stuff, and I'll probably drop another loop kit for guitar type stuff. So if you're interested, let me know in the comments. But appreciate your time. That's the bottom line. Appreciate your time. Thanks. Stay creative, y'all.